First of all, I'm very honored to speak in front of you. So welcome to the team caring when cure is no longer possible. Roles and relationships of the therapeutic team members. Here is the content. I hope you will have enough time. So about a couple of words about the needs of the dying person. Palliative care, what does it mean? Codependence, caregivers' needs and burnout syndrome, religion and spirituality, a few words about hospice movements, and about the hospice stories in Romania. So we all know that cancer patients have a spectrum of unique medical, psycho-spiritual needs that requires a very special attention, and that this diagnosis threatens the bodily integrity as well as the psycho-spiritual sphere. So, like in all other seriously illnesses, suffering from cancer includes mild physical pain and the reciprocal interaction between somatic pain and existential suffering. So it's very interesting, but as therapists, we have the general tendency as the experts, whose attitude is to determine the needs of a particular condition. But there are some other ways in learning the needs of advanced, ill, and dying people. For example, asking them if it's still possible. In the way they will elicit what they really want, not what they think we want them to want, and then watching what they are really doing or not doing in fulfilling these needs. So, about the needs of dying person and the cancer dying person, the inner research are very important, so we have to know the character, the temperament of our patients, what are her positive attitude, self-determination, ability, self-worth, optimism, and the sense of humor. It's very important to have a little bit sense of humor in the process of our therapy. The affirming relationships, so to concentrate ourselves, to concentrate as therapists, as cancer member team, on the relationships of our patients, about family, friends, healthcare professional, and about pets. I don't know how it's going on in Slovakia, but in Romania we have a little problems with using pets in hospitals. We have to concentrate ourselves about the present living with the moment, and trying to love the normal way of living, keeping busy, and keeping independent. Thinking about the anticipating survival, we have to concentrate ourselves to the cure, but sometimes the cure is not longer possible. And sometimes it's not very good to concentrate ourselves on the future, but on the present, waiting for present events, for present moments of love, caring, dialogue. And very, very important is to find meaning and to help our patients in this process of finding meaning in spirituality, faith, religion, and getting responses about the eternal life. So I don't want to sell it or these things about palliative care because I think you already know. About codependence, there is a very big issue, but it's not enough studies. We are speaking about this phenomenon, and when we are referred to the situation when a family member or a friend is doing for someone what that person should be doing for himself or herself, which allows this person to continue an inappropriate and unhealthy behavior. So it doesn't mean that the family member and the ill person are in a way dependent on each other. But aside from the initial anger and interior pain about one's loved terminally ill diagnosis, codependence represents one of the biggest causes of his or her deepest discomfort. So there are some categories about codependence. A person can be codependent when he or she is knowing what can be the best for the ill person and insisting on making that happen in our own way. Another sick attitude is to pleasing everyone excepting themselves. Or thinking that we are able to read our loved one's mind by assuming things that are not necessarily what they seem to be. Or worse, being pleased that the ill person depends on you. Maybe towards criteria. It's very important to have time to try to treat or to cure this codependent person, because in this way there will be fewer arguments, conflicts, better communication, and increased sense of meaning, and a more peaceful atmosphere in the home. About our burnout protective factors for the cancer, in general for team members, I assume this idea that a non-conflict situation between law and therapist morality is very important, and we still have problems in this area. We need a good professional specialization skills, a really demonstrated vocational commitment, and being a person who won't fear death. Correct defining our task in working with dying, including the understanding of other colleagues' tasks, and to have a good psycho-spiritual health status, a balanced work team with compatible members, and a good management of the caregiving team. So the theory is very simple and it's beautiful, but the practice is a little bit more complicated. About religion as coping mechanism when dealing with cancer and dealing with dying moments, it has been shown that prayer can significantly contribute as coping mechanism to patients as well as family caregivers and cancer team members. There are lots of studies. Yes, they are the most important were done in USA, but and even in Israel are very good demonstrated studies in this way. For example, there's a very interesting study from 1999 from USA, where the findings reflected some spiritual conflicts related to prayer, about hesitances about prayers, conflict about the idea of control, because we used to, we love to have control about our actions as patient, but even as therapist, as doctor too. The patients demonstrated a lot of questions about the meaning of life, questions about the nature of God, bargaining, doubts about the efficacy of prayer, about personal spirituality and word, or about praying the right way. But anyway, the findings do not negate the use of prayer in coping with cancer, rather they demonstrate the complexity and potential challenges of praying. Another important study says that there can be some, I won't say contradictions, but some interesting aspects to be noticed when using both qualitative or quantitative study. If there are some discrepancy between these studies, they tell about the use of untested attitudinal scales in research. So we need to research further and be more attentive. We have not a very big problem phenomena in Romania, but there is still under attention the way that some people used to try to be healed from some occult practices. And the fact that some people are healed through occult practices, in appearance, does not prove the good purpose behind them, the ultimate purpose. Even if the intent is evil, one would expect some appearing good as a means of enticement. If one's enthusiasm for embracing mysterious phenomena, one dare not ignore the question of ultimate purpose. I don't know if you here have a lot of problems with these patients who are going to the church, to the therapy, but also to the witches. What about the social worker? Because they are important members of our teams. This is a photo of our students from Timișoara, from Romania. In the team, they can promote the patient and the family choice, so assuring continuity of care and doing a lot of things, of administrative things that cannot be done from doctors or psychotherapists. They can solve some familial and social problems of the dying. They can mix and have a good management concept of the case management plan. They have to respect an understanding of ethnic, cultural, financial, and racial diversity. And they have to understand the insurance products, benefits, coverage limits, and insurance and governmental regulations. They are important even from preventing some anniversary erections suffering and assisting survivors in obtaining appropriate grief and regrief therapy. Assistance with bridging family gaps, for example, for help obtaining some temporary visa for out-of-country family members, obtaining the financial needs from a desired visit from someone. What about the hospice in Romania? So we found Brașov as a very beautiful town in the middle of Romania. Was the first town who could build a hospice with the help of some colleagues from the United Kingdom. We named this house Casa Speranței, Home of Hope. It's a photo of Home of Hope. What about Timișoara? And we have to thank your country for your help in building our hospice in Timișoara. The first hospice in Timișoara was established by the Slovakian daughters. From Košice. Yes, after a couple of years of the events of '89, the Caritas Federation of our diocese founded Center of Medical Home Care, but the special needs of the dying people and their families could not be fulfilled. So in January 2004, the Franciscan Sisters, in collaboration with Caritas, started this project of the Real Hospice Center. It was inaugurated 2 years later. Here there are some photos of our hospice. The holistic care teams here can take care from 10 patients. Here is the team. We have now 3 hospices in Timișoara. A pediatric, this one, Casa Universității Divine, Hospice of Divine Mercy, and another one, thanks to the Avon Cosmetics. A few words about some particular proposals. So as a certain particularity in end-of-life care, we have to realize that the dead one are no longer to teach us. The dying barely can articulate their needs, and the bereaved are often too overcome by their loss to speak, to give us a message. And much of our therapeutical effect in palliation occurs because of our human caring qualities. and the links and the commitments shaped within the multidisciplinary team are focused on the interest of the assisted. It's very important to have a key, to understand the significance of the family for our patient. We have a lot of problems with this codependence phenomenon, actually a misunderstood and rarely used concept in therapy. The care team members may also need a real emotional support for themselves. I don't know what's going on with the supervision here for the therapist, for therapists. Then the faith-based communities, self-help groups, and volunteer groups are really helpful. There are some maladaptive spiritual strategies. Actually, there are no coping strategies, and they can be determined by burnout or unprepared spiritual counselors, even by some mental health issues of patients and therapists, by occult therapeutical practices, and by having a false, distorted image of God Himself. Anyway, we find out the most three important coping mechanisms in coping with cancer: cognitive active behavior, and avoidance method coping style. Cognitive active means when you find a meaning and a way of saying, okay, these things happen to me, what good thing can I learn from this, and how can I evolve even spiritually. Active behavior means all our methods for trying to remain in contact with therapy, family, society. An avoidance method coping style used to say, well, I'm overwhelmed with this problem, it's very painful, and I will try to postpone 1 day, 1 hour. It's like the Scarlett O'Hara way of thinking, so it's a really coping mechanism. It's not refusing to think, but when you need it, just try to think about tomorrow, when you are more fit, when you don't have any migraine or whatever. The request for euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide, there's another huge problem in therapy, but the views of most affected terminal patients that are seldom explored. I would like to finish with this idea of the Pope Benedict, who said that the question of development is closely bound up with our understanding of the human soul, insofar as we often reduce the self to the psyche and confuse the soul's health with emotional well-being. And these oversimplifications stem from a profound failure to understand the spiritual life, and they obscure the fact that the development of individuals and people depends partly on the resolution of problems of a spiritual nature. So it's important point to meditate when considering the dangerous aspects of our contemporary research trying to be therapists. Concerning the spiritual needs of cancer patients, the so-called intelligent or not so intelligent unbeliever physicians should admit that what is not knowable needs not to be unbelievable. There are a lot of problems, or maybe not a lot, but important communicational let's say problems concerning the non-communicative, the non-verbal communications, so that we have to build a coding system designed for analyzing this non-verbal behavior. And And of course, the relation between lay and so-called scientific knowledge about cancer suffering may be improved. This is the visit of our students in 2 years ago, I think. There's Sister Sorsavia. I think Father Innocent can recognize her. And it's our students. Okay, thank you.